So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Max Malmud. I'm the Operations and also the PACRIM Conference Coordinator here at the Center on Disability Studies at the University of Hawaii, Mānoa. I'm pleased to welcome you today to our partner seminar. We are recording this session and it will be available on our CDS YouTube channel. Just a few reminders. If you could please keep your video off during the presentation, and we ask that you please mute your microphone until the Q&A or unless prompted by one of our speakers. So there will be a Q&A at the end of our meeting. We ask that you could please put your questions in the chat and we will get to them at the end of our session, or you're welcome to unmute when we get to that section. We have also enabled the captions feature, and we want to just give you a brief spiel about our partner seminar series. So CDS is a proud partner of numerous community and agency partnerships and collaborations over the history of our center at Hawaii University. Every other month, we try to spotlight one speaker and let them share more about who they are, the work they do, and the work that they continue to do or have done in relation to the various CDS work that we do in areas of our own study and research. So we hope that this presentation sparks new or expanded collaborations for you all and deepens the understanding of these wonderful community resources. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Holly, who is going to lead us into our speakers.
Thank you so much, Max. And hello, everyone. I am delighted to introduce our partners today representing Easterseals Hawaiʻi. Monica Patrie holds a Master's of Education in Special Education and is Vice President of Programs at Easterseals. She's joined today by Michelle Perry, who is the Director of Early Childhood Services. Michelle holds a BS in business and has a background in both business management and consulting. Michelle provides oversight and coordination of early childhood programming across the islands. And they're joined today by Kalina Hatzell, who is the Senior Director of Behavioral Health and Autism Services. She has an MA in Child Development and an MBA in Healthcare Administration and is responsible for the planning, organization, and oversight of the Autism Services programs. And again, we're just so honored to be joined by this fabulous organization, and their support both at the PACRIM conference is tremendous, as well as their work here with numerous early childhood and early intervention programs, autism programming, just a plethora of very inspiring work that they are engaged in, and the growing organization that they are, which you'll have the chance to hear more about today. So without further ado, I'll turn this over to Monica to kick us off. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Holly and Max, and thank you everyone for joining us today. We do have a slideshow that we'll start with. Kalina is going to share our deck, and as we go through, we'll talk about our service offerings that we have now across the islands with Easterseals Hawaiʻi, and also what we're looking at in the future. And if you have questions or thoughts or comments, as Max said, please feel free to drop those in the chat. And as soon as we're finished with the presentation, we'll be happy to go through and answer as many of those as we can. So our key learning indicators that we're going to try to hit on today are how Easterseals Hawaiʻi's focus in all of our programming is creating communities of aloha. We do that through different community collaborations, and one of those is with the Center on Disability Studies, so we'll talk a little bit about our partnership there. We're also going to cover our current service offerings and how those are really focused on individualized care for families. And then we'll talk about some new technology and exciting adaptive program designs that we're working on to make services more accessible. And we'll look at how we're growing in 2025 and beyond. When you think of Easterseals Hawaiʻi, I wanted to share kind of what our overlying purpose and vision is for all the work that we do within our company. Our purpose statement, like what we're doing, we're working to create a more equitable world so that people with developmental disabilities can choose their own path. And then how we do that, our vision for the work we do, is reimagining how care and support can be better connected to fill gaps in human services across an individual's lifespan.
Thank you, Monica. So welcome, everyone. One of the things we'll also be talking about today is how we as a provider in Easterseals Hawaiʻi focus on creating communities of aloha on across all the islands. So over the last 75 years, we are the largest provider for early intervention services. And we're also one of the largest providers for our adult program with the Medicaid waiver. So in addition to those, so that was from the beginning of the lifespan to into adulthood. And then we also have in the middle comprehensive autism services, and most recently, diagnostic evaluations, which we'll talk a little bit more in depth later on. So really for Easterseals Hawaiʻi, our team is so passionate and committed to helping individuals achieve their learning objectives, whatever they are, right? That's going to look different to everyone. Each individual is unique and has their own goals in mind and desires or things they want to obtain. And so we're really grateful to be able to be a part of those individuals' chapters to living more independent lives. So, all right. In addition to establishing communities, Easterseals Hawaiʻi is also really grateful to have collaborations with other providers or members in the community, especially CDS. So in 2024, we presented on 3 PACRIM conference presentations, which was a really exciting thing to be a part of, and we really enjoyed it. We have submitted for 2025, fingers crossed, but we'll still attend and be there. We're very excited for the 40th. And it was in this year's conference that we met Dr. Maya Matias, and really we credit CDS for helping us get diagnostic evaluations off the ground, because it was through that organic conversation at the PACRIM conference that really helped with not only identifying a need in the community, but creating the tools and resources to do something about it. So that's always a really exciting place to be. Oh, Monica, you're muted.
I was going to say, and we are so happy also to be here with you today for this partner seminar and to be able to share in a more complete way than sometimes we can just during conversations, all the services that we're offering and future services that we're developing and opportunities for partnership and further growth.
We'll kind of do a general overview of the current service offerings that we have in the different areas. So for our early childhood services, we have early intervention, which is 0 to 3. We're piloting an inclusive preschool program, so that goes up to the age of 7. Our autism services has traditional ABA as well as caregiver-led ABA. Caregiver training, social skills groups, piloting chat and Ruby, and then like Kalina mentioned, diagnostic evaluations. That age group is from the time a child has a diagnosis through about 22. And then as we're moving into that adult and employment services area, we're looking at individual and group services that can be done in the home, community, or in the center. There's employment services, which are through the Department of Vocational Rehab, or there's the pre-ETS classes, which is actually held during special education classes during DOE. So we're looking at that whole lifespan. And for 2024 right now, we're a little bit over 1,000 clients served across all of our groups. We'll go into more depth of what the service offerings are in the next couple of slides as well. For early childhood services, Early intervention is that 0 to 3 group. What's nice about that is that anyone can refer a child if there's ever a concern. It doesn't just have to come from pediatricians. And I think that's something that I like to espouse and share with all groups that we talk to. It can be auntie, uncle, friend, play groups, teachers. When we're looking at early intervention services, from the day that they're referred to the program, every family is assigned a care coordinator. So they're the ones who help the families navigate that process, the paperwork, the consents, understanding. Then there's the multidisciplinary team. It consists of occupational therapists, physical therapists, special instruction, and speech language pathologists, as well as access to additional services through the Department of Health, such as nutrition, psychology, hearing, audiology, and behavioral supports as well. So there's that whole group and team to support these families as they're navigating this. It's a coaching model. So it's not working on skills necessarily, but it's working on functional routine-based outcomes that are in the child's natural learning environment. So as soon as a child qualifies, the whole team comes together to create these individualized family support plans for these children that are really based around what the families are interested on working on, or if there are any areas of concern that they would like additional supports and strategies with. There's that huge community connection of it. A child's natural learning environment can be the home or care facility or preschool. Play groups, community parks, things like that. Rolling into those inclusive preschool offerings, we started with DOE school breaks. So in 2024, we piloted spring break, summer break, and fall break, and we were able to expand to 3 locations. So we started out in the Kapolei area, and we moved to Honolulu and Kailua. Monica, would it be helpful if I shared the early intervention referral line in the chat for everyone?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Early intervention is run through the state of Hawaii's Department of Health Early Intervention section. And as Michelle mentioned, anybody can refer to early intervention. Depending on where a family lives, referrals are given to programs based on the family's home address. So Michelle will drop the Oahu referral line number, and then there's a second one for any of the neighbor islands, because early intervention is available on all of the neighbor islands. Easterseals Hawaiʻi currently provides early intervention services for the whole island of Kauai, for Hilo side of Big Island, and then in several locations on Oahu as well. So those numbers are in the chat, and I'll read the main line out just so it's here for those that don't have access to the chat later. It's 808-235-5477. And then the neighbor island one is 808-594-0066. So anyone with a child birth to 3 who is wondering, is my child on track? Is there something we could use help with? You don't need a diagnosis of any kind. You don't need a pediatrician's referral. You can just call one of those 2 numbers and receive free early intervention services across the state.
All right, thank you both. We're going to go into our Autism Services program, where we offer a wide variety of different services. I'm going to jump around the slide here and start with traditional ABA. That may be what most are familiar with. And this is often what is seen in news articles or like on TV shows, where you have a registered behavior technician or paraprofessional coming to an individual's home, or they're present at a center location or clinic location, and they are providing anywhere from 20 to 40 hours a week of applied behavior analysis or ABA in treatment. So that is the most common, and there's a lot of research supporting that modality. We also offer social skills groups. And social skills groups are unique in that the focus of those sessions is social skills. So we will pick a theme that is of interest to all the individuals in that group, and they start working together on working towards a group goal. And during that time, they are practicing the social skills required to complete that group task. One example we have is our social chefs group, right? So they're not only learning how to interact with each other and make a long-term plan, making a recipe, making a meal, they're also developing some really important life skills. So we love our social skills groups. They're a lot of fun. And then, as I mentioned before, previously this year, we have started diagnostic evaluations. And so this service line really allows the opportunity for any individual or their caregiver who's concerned about an intellectual or developmental disability, including autism, provides the opportunity to make an appointment, and an assessment is completed, and it's identified whether or not they meet the criteria for different diagnoses. And I'll pause there for just a minute and call out that in contrast to our early intervention program, not everyone can make a referral. It does require from your medical provider. So if anyone was interested, they would reach out to their primary care physician and request that, and also to make sure that it is part of their insurance. So, and even if they don't have that information right away, if they call or send an email in, we have a team put together that helps process those and can answer some of those questions and lead them in the right direction. So those are the three primary service lines. One thing that has frequently come up in the field of ABA is the lack of the registered behavior technicians or paraprofessionals, right? When treatment recommendations are 20 to 40 hours a week, every week, that often requires a lot of staff and not always available. And that is across the world, not specific to Hawaii. It's also observed in the mainland and other international countries as well. So it's a global issue. So one of the things that Easterseals Hawaiʻi Autism Services looked at was, okay, we have this unmet need where families are in need of services. How can we provide access to those services when we don't necessarily have unlimited access to these paraprofessionals? So we partnered with the Catalyte Research Institute and Catalyte Company that's located in California. And they are doing a lot of research on caregiver-mediated models. And so those are the first 2 points on this slide. We have caregiver-led ABA, and then caregiver training, Chat, and Ruby. So for Chat and Ruby, those are even more a couple slides down. We have a lot of exciting pilots and things that we're trying to meet this need. But for caregiver-led ABA and caregiver training, there is a robust amount of research supporting the effectiveness of the caregivers providing services as opposed to a paraprofessional. And so what it looks like is it's a decrease in hours, right? Allows it to be a little bit more amenable to those with really busy schedules. So it's 1 to 3 hours a week, meeting with a certified or licensed behavior analyst and learning the skills and strategies on how to implement the treatment plan in their child's natural environment. So it is less intensive, allows the family to have a little more time. And what the research is really demonstrating is that the outcomes for these individuals receiving the caregiver-led ABA model, they're similar to the paraprofessional, suggesting the possibility, right, that more is not always better, right? And it could be that an individual could receive the same outcomes in treatment in a less intensive model, and also just provides another service or access to something different, especially when one thing's not available, or even if it is available, if it doesn't work with the family's schedule. So that is something that in particular, we are very excited about to be able to offer. And that is our Autism Services program. I think the only other thing I'd note is that our age range, we've had individuals as young as 2 or as old as 22 in our program. We have 2 centers on Oahu currently, one in Kapolei and one in Honolulu. And we are looking forward to, as we think about, how we want to grow and continue to meet the need, how we can continue to expand across Oahu, as well as our neighboring islands. And again, just really increasing that access to care. And with that, I'm going to shift to our adult services.
I will jump in there. However, before I talk about adult, I would love to draw a parallel in between the way our early intervention services are delivered and some of the caregiver-led modeling that we're using in autism services now. What early intervention shifted to back in 2015, 2017 timeframe was more of that parent-led model, knowing that families are a child's first and most important teacher. And while we may only have them an hour a week or a couple hours a week, families have them every day, all day, 7 days a week. So if we can enable caregivers to use these strategies during daily routines with their children, we saw really successful outcomes in early intervention and have shifted the early intervention service delivery model to a coaching model. But this is a very same and similar type idea to what Kalina was talking about in autism services, where you're still using the same research-based methodology, but you're empowering the family to use some of these methods in their home during their daily routines. And it's more naturally integrated in something they're empowered to do all the time instead of just when in center or when services are happening. And with that, I will switch over to our adult and employment services. We always talk about Easterseals Hawaiʻi striving to provide a lifespan of services. So we could get referrals in early intervention from sometimes as soon as a child is discharged from the NICU or when they're a toddler, and we might be wondering about communication, and then referrals, like Kalina said, 2 through about 22 for autism services. Our employment services program actually starts in the SPED programs in high school. We have pre-ETS contracts to deliver employment services type coaching and classes in the high school SPED classrooms throughout the state. And then our adult services start when people finish high school, whether they go on the graduation diploma track or a certificate track. So somewhere in between 18 to 22, when our SPED kiddos finish their high school track, they could be eligible for the adult waiver program. Our adult program is provided in one-on-one services in the home, if needed, in one-on-one or group services in the community, if community-based services are what's right for the family. And then we also have centers for adult day programming. There's one on Hilo, in Hilo on Big Island. There's one in Maui. And then we have one in Ewa Beach and in Honolulu on Green Street on Oahu. And then on Kauai, we have one Waimea side of the island and one Kapa'a. So kind of wherever you are in the state, if you're finishing up high school and looking for what comes next, we have support with employment services for those SPED students and families. And then we have adult program to kind of needs of wherever families are. Throughout all of our programs, one thing that we really look at is how can we individualize the care that your family, your child, your adult participant is going to get to meet their needs and also your need as a family, knowing that one exact thing isn't going to work for everyone, whether it's location or work schedules or the participants' individual needs. So we'll talk a little bit about that individualization and how we do that across our programs.
For early intervention, it starts from the time we get that referral. We're talking to families about what their concerns are, if their pediatricians have any concerns, and really getting the information from all parts of their care team. So it goes from that to an intake meeting, and then an evaluation is scheduled with 2 qualified individuals who will make the report. Then we talk about eligibility. So in that eligibility meeting, we do a family-directed assessment. So it really breaks down every single one of the family's routines and what they're looking at and what they want to be different, what an ideal state would be for them. And we take all of the information from those meetings and we build an individualized family support plan. So how does that impact the family? Where do they want to see change? And how do we as providers fit into that? So frequencies look different, timing looks different, routines look different, outcomes are different, right? These are all aspects of what that plan is for these families. Some families need help with transition out of early intervention. So looking at what are the options on each island in their geographic area. Do they want to go to the Department of Education? Do they want private preschool? Do they want to keep their kiddo at home, right? So really taking into account not only the time that these kiddos are in the early intervention program, but also after that, how do we help with that transition and get families ready for that as well? Because some families know exactly what they want. They want their kiddo to go to Kamehameha. They've already started the process. They know where they're going. Some families are like, oh man, I don't even know, right? So connecting them to those community resources of Head Start, early Head Start, Tutu and Me, what are the family groups in the area? Any kind of keiki activities that they're interested in or that they want their child to be part of for socialization? What are next steps if they got an autism diagnosis? How do we connect them with other programs that could help them? And then if the family itself needs supports, how do we as a group help them get the resources that they need?
Absolutely. Michelle, I love the way you put all of that, and it ties really nicely into Autism Services, where we really uphold the same standards and values. Recently, what we've been saying, and it's just been so fitting, is one size does not fit all, right? So, going back to when we were talking about some of the caregiver mediated models, right, that might sound good and be totally doable for one family, right? And it works great. We're seeing progress, and quality of life is improving. Satisfaction of the therapy is there with the family. And at the same time, we might have another family where that's not an effective modality, and they do need more of that paraprofessional one-on-one support multiple hours a week. And so the way we really focus on individualized care is by assessing for that and evaluating constantly. So it starts at the assessment process and identifying the goals of treatment and where the individual is. And then over time, I'd say every 6 months, we submit an updated report to the healthcare provider on how the individual's progress in treatment is going. And if it's going great and we can fade to less intensive modality, great. If something's not going well and we need to fine tune, or maybe we need to change the service line to something more intensive, we are able to do that. And I just speaking as not only as a part of Easterseals Hawaiʻi, but also as a clinician, as a board certified behavior analyst, I'm so grateful that we are able to do that and offer families different options for what's going to meet their needs at that point in time.
For our adult programs, we talked about how we individualize service locations when we were on our other slide, but we also individualize our service plans and what we're working on. The plans are developed as participants are coming in, and they're reviewed at least every 6 months. So everybody has their own goal, and participants always are included in making that goal. Anything we do with them, they've had a part in creating. So while we have some people who may be doing community activities that are really geared on how do I access transportation that could get me to and from a store to get food and then prepare that, and we would come back to the center and work on food prep, and that might be the goals of that individual or that small group of people. We might group them together if they have similar goals. We may have other people who are looking at, I'm really wanting to do some type of employment, and what are options with that, and can I use my service time towards employment? We have other people that are looking at totally different things. So we have a group of participants right now in our Eva Beach location that are very interested in some of the community groups that are going on and want to not just attend them, but also look at how they can volunteer to facilitate them. And that right there, like how can I volunteer and give back to the community, has become what we've integrated into their personalized plan. So we really look at through our adult program also, how do we personalize what your goals are? And then how do we build experiences for you, whether in the center or in the community or one-on-one in the home around whatever those goals might be. Sometimes employment services are in conjunction with those that are in our adult program, and sometimes they're separate, like if we're doing the pre-ETS classes in the high school or if somebody just comes in for employment services, and that's also very individualized. Employment services isn't a one-size-fits-all either. It's about what is meaningful to you and what is something you want to do. Is teaching a painting class on the beach what you're looking for? Do you want to look for a job at Safeway? Is it really exciting for you to be able to work at a restaurant because you love food and talking to people and that brings you joy? And then from there, how can we go about the next steps of career discovery with that and building a resume and interviewing? And employment services includes kind of supportive visits during employment after it's secured also. And then eventually that tapers off. Kind of what Kalina was talking about. It isn't that you would need these services forever. You need them until you can have a little less, with the goal of being as independent as you can be, whatever your own path is for that.
All right. We're going to shift gears here and take a look at some of the new technology and adaptive program designs that we are working on. So a lot of really exciting things. You'll notice here there are 4 tables, and each table represents a different area of things we are looking at. In parentheses, you'll see pilot, the word pilot, and that just means that we are testing it. We are in our first phase of saying, okay, we've got this need here. Will this work for that need? So they are not fully rolled out yet. And so, yeah, so for our NABLA AI pilot, we are integrating artificial intelligence into treatment sessions, primarily to optimize session note writing. And so our goal here is a couple of things. One is more accurate session notes, right? It can be really challenging to fully focus on an individual and their family while also making sure that you are taking comprehensive notes. And so our goal with NABLA is that the clinician can focus just on the family, just on the individual, and then NABLA captures the conversation and provides a really nice summary of the session afterwards. So we started this pilot in September, and we are, I think, getting ready to wrap up the first phase here at the end of this month. And we will look at the data and see, did it make session note writing easier? Was it more accurate? So very, very cool thing that we have. The other piece of technology that we are piloting is an app called My Bright Link. So My Bright Link is twofold. It's an app for caregivers, but it's also an app for practitioners. It allows for electronic data collection. Again, yay, no more paper data sheets, no more Excel. And it also allows caregivers to collect data too, right on their phone. The app also provides for caregivers resources to other things in their area and different activities or events going on. It's currently being piloted on the mainland for the first phase, and is starting to, as part of the next phase, will start to come to Easterseals Autism Services here on Oahu. So we're really excited for that to start giving feedback to our tech team. For new service lines, these are two of them are caregiver mediated that we talked about in the previous slide. So that is Chat and Ruby. Chat is a service line that's available to families who aren't quite sure they want to do ABA. So there are a a lot of different things on the internet, and families' previous experience. They may say, you know what, ABA doesn't work for me, may not like the style, and that is okay. So we have our chat service line that is for children under the age of 6 and their caregivers, and it focuses on the child meeting developmental milestones set by the CDC. And it's a little bit more play-based. And so it's just a nice alternative for families who may not be interested in ABA, but they still want some type of intervention or help with meeting those milestones. Ruby is a evidence-based treatment. There's been a lot of research on this program. It's a caregiver training program that focuses specifically on guiding caregivers through challenging behaviors. So we have partnered with the creators. Karen Bears is her name, have partnered with them. And then last but certainly not least, Compass Behavioral, which we presented at PACRIM this year. And this is client mediated. So this is for individuals between the ages of 12 and 20 who are wanting to work on their executive functioning skills. So, you know, creating goals, finding employment, having successful relationships, having successful social interactions. What I love so much about the Compass Behavioral Program is it's the individual deciding the path that their care takes, and the clinician is working directly with them and what they want to work on. Some other really cool modules, they're called modules or elements that individuals can work on in this program is advocating, self-advocating, which can be challenging for many, and it's just a really great tool and resource for them. Last but certainly not least, we have our collaboration with the Catalyte Research Institute, and we are participating in 3 different studies starting this year and into next on some different service lines. So there's the Calibrate study, which is a caregiver-mediated program focused on addressing really severe or dangerous behaviors, motivational interviewing in caregiver-mediated services, and then the Compass Behavioral. So it's really great. Our practitioners get to participate in this research, looking at the effectiveness of each and just continuing our path forward. So a lot going on, but all really exciting things.
And then as we're talking about exciting things, we know that we're not done yet, and there are still gaps in services and places where there are not services available. And as we look at our planning for 2025 and beyond, there are some things that we're targeting specifically where we know there's gaps that we would like to help provide additional services. So one of those ways is by expanding the diagnostic evaluations that we've started through a postdoctoral program. Another thing we're looking at is exploring pediatric therapy as a bridge between early intervention and what comes next. Maybe you didn't get into Department of Education, but you still would like some therapy, and there's a gap there. So that is an option we're looking at. We're also applying for speech and language grants for children with communication delays, especially looking at what we might use for those that did not qualify for Department of Education and have aged out of early intervention. And then as we look at our inclusive preschool, we've started doing this. We know there's a need when DOE is closed and preschoolers who are usually attending there don't have somewhere to be. And as Michelle said, we have expanded that inclusive preschool to 3 locations. We're looking at how we can grow that. And then I think that the final thing that we are very intentionally exploring and going to pilot in 2025 is with our respite services and how we might be able to provide some sort of respite for families across our lifespan of services, because we know that being a caregiver is a lot of work. And even if you have full adult care during the day or full care for the school day, there may be times when you just need to know that your human is in a safe, cared for place and you can have a break, have some respite. So that is something that we are looking at kind of to complete this whole picture of full family care and closing gaps in services when we look at our growth for 2025. And then you've seen this before, but intentionally closing here again, when we look at our purpose and vision for Easterseals Hawaiʻi, and we talk about the vision of filling gaps, a lot of what you heard today is our work in doing that. Long waiting list for diagnostic evaluations and waits for care. So we're going to create a diagnostic service line and then look to expand that. We know there's a gap during school breaks for preschool care. So we're looking at doing that. We know that there are places where caregiver-led training or parent coaching would be of need. So we're looking to fill gaps there. So bringing this back to what Easterseals Hawaiʻi is all about, we are looking to fill those gaps from birth all the way through adult to see across an individual's lifespan, how can we provide the most comprehensive services so that everybody is able to be supported in choosing their own path. All right, thank you all very much. And then we will take down our slide deck. I saw one question already in the chat I would love to answer. And then any other questions, please feel free. You can come off mute, you can type in chat, whatever you would like. The question that I saw earlier from Sherry was how can you apply and how soon can individuals receive job training and placement? So I'm guessing this is about employment services, but actually the answer is same and similar for all of our services. At any time, you can always email info@eshawaii.org, and that will direct you kind of to our main point of contact at our Green Street office. She gets those and says, all right, this goes to Kalina for Autism Services, or this goes to Michelle because this is preschool or this is early intervention, or this goes to Monica because this is employment services or adult or some other type of programming we don't have yet that we might want to explore. So I would encourage anybody with questions about a specific service offering or questions about new ones or ways to collaborate to use that email address, or you can always call our main office also at 536-1015. And then Kalina, I think this question from Joanna in chat might be best for you. How does the provider go by referring a child for a diagnostic evaluation?
Yeah, no, great question. And I'll put it in the chat as well. Families can schedule a diagnostic evaluation, or we shorten it, we call it a DE, by reaching out to their medical provider, or they can reach out to Easterseals Hawaiʻi directly, and I'm putting in the email in the chat. So at this time, it is info@eastersealshawaiʻi.org.
I'm so sorry. It was loud in here where I'm at. Could you say the first part again?
Yeah, absolutely. So families can schedule the DE by either reaching out to their medical provider, or they can reach out to us directly. And then I put the email in the chat in response to the question.
So the families, when they go to their providers, what are their providers going to do? Are they just going to give them a phone number and then the family just goes?
Yeah, great question. We've had both. So we've had where the provider has reached out to us directly and said, hey, we're doing a referral for diagnostic evaluation. Can you take this individual and their family? But we've also had medical providers tell families, hey, here's a list and you need to call. So that's why we provide both options. It may be faster to reach out to us directly.
Okay, got it.
And then Amanda had a question in chat. Do we have adult services and employment on the Big Island? And the answer is yes. We have an adult program location in Kea'au. It's actually right by the Department of Education. And then in addition to the services in that center location, we do community and one-on-one. Our contract with the DDD is for the Hilo side of Big Island. And then we do employment services for that same geographical area as well. So that includes both the pre-ETS classes in the high schools. And then once somebody has completed high school, if they want employment services training as part of the waiver adult program, we offer that as well. I'll read this one out loud. This is a great question. In the overall sector of organizations supporting individuals with disabilities, are there areas you wish that one sector would collaborate together on? I'll give a quick answer to that, but Kalina and Michelle, I would love for you to jump in with your thoughts too. I think it is so important for us all to work together. And a lot of the community organizations that we partner with or events we attend, I'm thinking of like the Amazing Spin Conference that's hosted every year, the PAC-REM Conference. We go to the EFMP Family Days. All of those Leadership Disabilities of Hawaii, we just did a Maui one. I know they're on all the islands. All of these are really bringing community organizations together. And one of my favorite parts of attending that is going and talking to all the other organizations at their tables, because there are many things we don't do. And truthfully, we don't have to do everything if somebody else is already doing it really well. That just gives us a great resource to already share with our families. So I am always excited to hear what others are doing. And I know there are many gaps where we don't have total comprehensive services yet. And while we're looking at that, we are also always looking to partner with others. Lena, Michelle, did you want to add anything to that?
That was beautiful, Monica. Yeah, I think the only other thing I note, or really just re-emphasize what you already mentioned, was just how much we value collaboration and really encouraging a multidisciplinary approach.
Iolani had put a question in the chat. I think this one's for you, Kalina. What are the ages for the social skills group? Sorry, tongue tie.
Oh, thank you for catching that. Yes, so our social skills groups will start out around age 6 or age 7. There's a series of prerequisites that need to be met in order to be eligible. And what's really great about that is if there are missing prerequisite skills, we can work on those skills in ABA treatment. And then once they master them, we can move into group. But yeah, the youngest I've seen for being truly ready for social skills group is between the ages of 6 and 7. And then we go as high as into the teens.
Fantastic. There was a comment in the chat about an opportunity to partner with PCDC on providing services for children with autism or those not eligible for DOE. Love that chat. PCDC also is a provider of early intervention services and overlaps a lot of Easterseals borders for early intervention areas, and that would be wonderful to partner on that. But please feel free to reach out, and we will also. And then there's also a great message from Max in chat, if you haven't already, with the link for the PAC-REM concert or conference. And I think, did I see one about SPIN also? Maybe. Oh, nope, it was about PAC-REM. Early bird registration and special rate for registration right now open for PAC-REM. And I think we got through all the questions in chat, but if we didn't and we missed one, please feel free to type it in or unmute and let us know.
I'm sorry. For the ABA services, what if like they are going to PCDC, but they want outside ABA services? Are they still able to get that?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any requirements or what they need to do to apply?
Oh, to receive services with our autism services?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So we have to have an authorization by the medical provider. So it would be working with their healthcare provider on getting that referral.
Okay.
And I request. Sorry.
I work with the providers like in the clinic. They're not very familiar in what forms or referrals to ABA. Are you able to send me more information or even the forms so that I can help with that?
Yes, absolutely. I will. You will have it if you want to private message me your email, I can send you that information by tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Hi there. I'm just going to pop on real quick, just as we have a little bit of a lull, to mention that I just put in our chat. As you leave our Zoom, you should be automatically directed to a post-seminar survey. We would greatly appreciate your feedback. It's a really brief survey that just lets us know your impression and feedback from our seminar today and would help us better inform our future seminars. So I put a link in the chat just in case you don't automatically get directed to that survey. And of course, we'll still stay on for further questioning, but I just wanted to interrupt briefly. Thank again our speakers for being here and sharing so much of their expertise and their work with us and the important impacts that they have in our various communities. So thank you also to all three of you for just taking the time. And thank you to our attendees also for just taking the time to tune in. So as you need to, feel free to exit the Zoom as we are concluding with our Q&A portion. But if you still do have Q&A, please feel free to add them to the chat or unmute yourself. And our partner seminar recording will be uploaded to our YouTube page within roughly 2 weeks after editing and processing. So even if you weren't here for the full session, don't worry, there'll still be opportunities to connect with our speakers and watch our session today. So thank you again. But if there are still questions, feel free to ask them.
I see one, Kalina. Do you see the question about AI tools and other tech and asking if programs are widely using them, or is it specifically in our organization?
Yeah, I believe for now, Monica, keep me honest, that right now it's specific to our organization, but it is across departments. So our Autism Services team and early intervention team are currently piloting.
Yes, I think that's the right answer there. And thank you so much to everyone for all of your questions and dialogue here at the end.
Hi, sorry. Thank you so much for this. It's been really informational. I really appreciate all the work that you folks have been doing. My question, sorry, I put in the one about the special groups. So I was wondering, do they have to go through an assessment and then they get put in like, so my daughter did do the early intervention. She's now 12. And so I really am interested in maybe trying to, get her a little bit more socialized. She's a little shy, sort of. But when she's comfortable, she's like absolutely not shy. So I just was wondering, I'm always trying to look for different places that maybe she would feel comfortable talking or trying to build like like socialize with other people. So I guess I was just trying to get a little bit more information if there's not any other questions about that or the process, or you could just refer me of like where I can read about it on the website.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we'd love to help you get set up. If you're comfortable sharing your email with me, I will connect you with our program manager. Her name's Michelle Ossett. She knows the ins and outs of that process and will be able to provide you with some really easy step-by-step instructions on how to start that process.
Okay, awesome. Yes, I will give you my email. And then kind of sort of unrelated, but sort of related. When you folks were talking about caregivers and the looking for places that they can kind of get a little bit of a rest so we can come back and be our full 100% for our little, I love how you said our humans. So I guess in alignment with that, my husband and I, we have a lomi, we do Hawaiian healing, and so we do lomi with the community, and we often we try to incorporate community events where people can access Hawaiian healing, like just kahiao at no cost, just because it's so important in our lives and it makes our lives so much better and allows us to be, it allows us to show up 100% for the people that we really love and we care about. So I will give you my email, but I totally, we often go out and provide these free community workshops, Lomi Lomi. And we have some students that we kind of take with us. And so I would love to maybe partner with you folks, or even just, maybe organize a day and maybe send you information that maybe you can get out to the caregivers, because we would love to bring this to more of our community. We've gone to like Ronald McDonald House. We've been going to Maui for the last year with the Lahaina survivors. But so I will give you my email. But mahalo nui for your wonderful work. These kinds of things really make a difference for people like me, like a special needs mama and parent, and just trying to survive and figure out the best way to do this. So mahalo nui.
Mahalo. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for attending. It's so fun to be here and to be a part of the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciated your time. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Great. I do have to run to another meeting, but thank you.